The following is a special presentation of MRE Uno Division 2. You're watching the 2025 MRE Uno Division 2 Championship. Bangkok, Thailand. The sun rises on playoff season, championship season. The best 16 players in the world in D1 will compete for a world title here in just about a month. But today, we find out who of the best D2 players will be playing for the right to compete against the big dogs in D1 in 2026. They'll also be fighting for D2's second ever world title, but promotion is top of mind. Some already know they're going to be there, some need to fight for it, and others are playing like their lives depend on it. Today, some will find out they're all but in. Some will find out there's still work to do this season, and others will find out they remain hanging on by a thread to move up. Championship season is upon us in Bangkok, and while the best aren't on the table yet, the next new crop of rookies are ready to stake their claim. It's time to find out who made it, who's promoted, who's in the chip, and who has to play in the last chance qualifier. All of it begs one simple question. That question is, who's in? Who gets the free pass to the chip, and who has to fight like their lives depend on it on the table? Find out all of it right here and right now. Championship season is upon us as we welcome you to the 2025 Division 2 Championship selection show. Today, we are ready to go. 18 players await their fate, 18 eligible for the postseason, 3 of which already know they're going to be in the championship. There'll be 7 more spots to be determined. All will be revealed today as we welcome you. I'm your host, Not Short. Joining me today is my fellow D2 commissioners, G-Man and Yoshi. Gentlemen, very excited to be here. It's championship season. You know, we're kind of leaning into that feel of the BKK while we're still in T5 over in D1, trying to set up for Super League here in Bangkok. We're having a little bit of an early trip here as we get the D2 championship going here today. I want to start with G here, as I know I'm pretty sure he brought some insights to the party, got some insights on the season, some numbers for us, and also your thoughts on the season as a whole and going into the championship season.
That is correct, Short. And again, what a season it's been. This is year 2 of D2, and we are up in all numbers here. I do have some stats I'd like to read off, and we'll also compare to the last season, but every single stat that I have here is an increase from 2024. Starting with the players. So last season had 60 players, individual players. This one had 88 unique players that play at least one match. So a lot more players coming in. That's also partially due to the expanded field size. Largest tournament from last season was 53 players with a DQ. This season it got a little shuffled around due to some early issues with the DQs, but ultimately the number ends up around somewhere in the 63-64 range for the largest tournament if you take out the DQs. So an increase there, and a lot of the tournaments had quite a few players. Every tournament had at least 59 players, so ultimately a lot bigger field size compared to 2024. Total matches, we had 233 matches this season, uptick from 154. Again, partially due to larger field size, but good to see more matches. Total games, same thing here. And this one actually nearly doubled from season to season. Last season was 741 games. This one, 1,430. So nearly a 100% increase in the amount of games played. So big uptick there. That kind of shows a lot of competitiveness in the field, which you love to see. Same thing with total time, except this one again in the summer bonus games last season, 78 hours, 18 minutes, no seconds because we didn't have the old bot or the new bot. We had the old bot. This season, 153 hours, 28 minutes, and 10 seconds of gameplay across the board in D2. So a lot of time being played. That is, I mean, with that you're looking at nearly a week or so, pretty much about a week or so of Uno. So all that with game time. So that's pretty fun. But with Emery Uno, people love their playing their Uno, so that's how that goes. But for states, 28 different states, so we did reach the halfway mark for that one this season. Last season was 22. As I mentioned last year, goal is to at some point have all 50. Maybe a little bit long ways away, but we did add a few more states along the way. Had some drop, but had some added. But 28 is the total of unique states we had this season. So love to see that. And then the countries, of course, went up as well. This one went up by 17 different countries represented. Had some new ones we haven't seen before, such as Portugal. A few people from the Netherlands, a few people from Belgium. So got some more European representation. Got a little bit of Asian representation as well. Vietnam was another new country we added to the league. So we love the international diversity. We always talk about that with D2, and that's where you see a lot of it the most. So hoping to get maybe at least 20 for next season. That would be a good number to go off. We're kind of jumping by increments of 3 at the moment. So if we could see that next season, that would be great. But we do love the amount of different people playing all over the world in this league, and I'm very excited to add to it as we go on. But those are the season stats, and in terms of the overall season, again, been a lot of games played as I mentioned before, but we've had a lot of standouts this season. And I'm really happy that we're going to be able to showcase these people here today in this reveal show. But even in these playoffs as well, it's just going to be a really exciting and intense field. Everyone who's made the playoffs has definitely worked their way to earn it because again, the minimum to at least make the LCQ was 5 wins, although 2 players got in from 4 wins and a DQ, so technically that's 5 wins in a way. So, yeah, it had to get a lot of wins to make the field, and it's going to be a really exciting competition here. But I'll throw it to Yoshi for his thoughts as I wrap up my opening ramble.
Yeah, thanks for those thoughts. Yoshi, your thoughts on the season as we enter the championship playoff part of the season. Lots of fun stories to be told, and we're gonna have at least 8 go up to D1 next year, and that's gonna be determined in this championship. Your thoughts on that overall?
Yeah, this season had lots of ups and downs, and when you compare it to last season, as far as like for the commission and also the players, I feel like everything's gotten better, and it's only going to keep getting better over time. We've seen uh we've seen an interesting season here where we had some players at the top, keeping themselves at the top. Even if they dropped a little bit from that, they're still like relatively up there. We have this kind of like break where we see like these top players always like doing really well in most of the terms that they play, and then everyone at the back end struggling to keep up. And it's very interesting. Like we're seeing like some players who seem to be D1 ready potentially, on although there are only going to be at minimum 8 spots for that. So it's still a lot to play for. There's more than 8 players here in D2 that are really good. That's for sure. I feel like we got through the season in a pretty decent pace in terms of getting through the tournaments and whatnot. DQs went way down compared to the first 2 tournaments, and we're really seeing like how fierce the competition has gotten. I think it was definitely a wild ride, but still not over for this D2 because we got the LCQ and the D2 Championship. A lot to look forward to still. And for many people, the season is over, but for some, it's just getting started. So very, very excited to see how the playoffs end up because I think everyone left is gonna put on a show.
No doubt, it's gonna be a fun show indeed. Um, before we get into the reveal of players in the championship, top 10, that's including those tournament winners, as I mentioned, I'm going to throw it back to G here. G and Yoshi, I'll be completely transparent on this one. G and Yoshi were the ones who put this together. I did not put a list together myself to rank these D2 players, so this was completely their doing. So they're going to be the ones breaking down why each player was placed where they were. And so, G, real quickly before we get to the reveals of the players, just break down a little bit what the criteria was to get to rank these players, and also what do you believe was the hardest without revealing too much? What do you believe was the hardest challenge in making this championship bracket? G?
Sorry. Anyways, my mic is muted, but again, apologies for that. But
Yeah, it's fine. Go ahead.
Yeah. But again, I mean, the criteria is kind of similar to what it is in D1. I think the biggest difference there is for D1, there's usually about 8 heads in the room making lists, discussing it, breaking it down. For here, it's only me and Yoshi. I think the benefit of that is me and Yoshi watch pretty much every single match of the season, so we do have a generally good memory of what happened in a good chunk of the matches, and also just taking into consideration everything we have here. But we also make sure to break it down super carefully, since technically it is only two lists, or 2 people that are ultimately coming up with the final list. But in terms of the criteria, I'll run it down in order. Not every single thing is necessarily a tiebreaker per se, where it's like it has to go 1, 2, 3, 4 per se, but it is things that we do consider when making this list. So starts off with tournament belts, which again also grants you an automatic berth into the D2 championship, but also could help with your seeding. Series wins, so how many you got. Ranked wins or quality wins, whichever one works better for you. This could be the top 20. This could be pretty much the top 25, which is what we're going off of for now. We are also considering wins of people who may have been on a last-ditch run in Tournament 4, where they may have had a really good run but weren't initially ranked in that last top 25, so those will also be considered as well as part of that list. Game record, so how well is your game record? What's your game win percentage? Consistency, so this would be average finish pretty much, where you land with that one. Peak run is the furthest you made it at any point in the season. So you kind of have a little bit of a battle between consistency and peak run. So, I mean, a peak run of finale would be better than peak run of Final Four. But then also, how does the consistency factor into that? Did you do that? Did you have your runs be across the season, or did you break out in one tournament and then do nothing the rest of the season? That is something we do consider. Strength of schedule, which actually has a bit of a different formula compared to last season. Same thing it is in D1, where we take the series wins of the opponents, and then divide it by adding the win total and the series losses together, and that gives us the number for strength of schedule. So that gives us a good indicator of how hard the competition you played was, whether that be you beat them or you lost to them. Top 25 wins will be reflected on the wins. And then finally, head-to-head records. If you had head over someone and you're near someone, I mean, you kind of jump them by default because you already beat them in the regular season. So that's generally a fair way to look at it. Again, head-to-head is really something you look at, especially if it's like closer. If it's like someone has like let's say 10 wins and the other person has 3 wins, the 3-win person would not jump to 10-win because that's like not even close. But especially when it gets down to those closer ones and you're near the pack, that's where it definitely could become a factor. So head-to-head record is important, but is not the be-all, end-all per se, but is something we also consider when making these rankings.
Alrighty, so with that out of the way, I think it's about time to reveal who is in. I mean, first we're gonna go with the top 4. So that's these guys. You kind of knew they were in from the beginning. You kind of, or like prior to this show starting. So and especially with this number one, we might all know who it is. So I think without further ado, it's time to reveal. So we're gonna start with number one, and here is your number one player, and without a doubt, your number one player is MyHell. 14-2, 67-47 this season. 2 tournament belts, unprecedented. Not necessarily unprecedented because it's the second player to do it. It's historical. Second player to win back-to-back tournaments, only next to Tapir, who won the first 2 tournaments last season. Mind you, MyHell isn't also playing in D1 at the same time as winning a second tournament in D2, so a little bit of a different thing. He started making the Sweet 16 in February, falling to red, then fell in round 2 to Arnhem, but then 2 straight tournament belts. Just a crazy historical season for MyHell. 14-2, and now he's the top seed in this 2025 Division 2 championship. And as a reminder, this top 4, they will have a bye in the bracket, and then when we get to the rest of the bracket, they will be playing in the opening round or in the LCQ, depending on where they are. 5 through 10 will be playing in the opening round of the championship, and then the 11 and 12 spot will go to the LCQ bracket winners. I'll come back to G in a second, but I wanted to start with Yoshi. Yoshi, your thoughts on the historic season for MyHell? He's only the second player to be able to get the job done like this. 2 tournament belts in a row. Unlike Tapir, it's at the end of the season instead of the start of the season. Obviously, I have no idea what Tapir would have done if he was in D2 the entire season with that mid-season promotion last year. But your thoughts on his season and now as he moves into championship mode here?
Yeah, MyHell, I mean, we saw last season where he, relatively got close to making into the championship without needing to go into LCQ, but unfortunately didn't make it. Had that finale against Tapir, ironically, but not enough, and didn't end up making it out of the LCQ at that point. So here, we knew what he was looking to make it out, not even think about the LCQ. And at the first 2 tournaments looked okay, but they didn't really see, he made it. I think he made it in the Elite 8 and then a round
Sweet
of 32.
16 and round of 32.
Yeah. So Sweet 16 round of 32, which is alright, but not what he's looking for. And then just ended up absolutely crushing it after that. Ironically, MyHell's 2 losses are players in the top 25, and I mean, if there was any more argument to put him number 1, that helps as well. Doesn't even have a bad loss, so with the 2 that he had here, and then also just winning, getting so many good wins. I mean, it's not the most impressive win resume ever, but it's the quantity is definitely going to be a big gap here, and also the only player to have 2 tournament wins. I mean, there's not much you could say that would put MyHell not at number 1. He's really proved himself, and I'm looking forward to see how he plays in the championship, because he's for most people, he's gonna be the biggest threat to win the championship.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's much more of a discussion should he have lost Justice July, or if he had lost Justice July, that finale just a few weeks ago. Could be a whole different conversation, both on the show and in the room as we're making those lists. G, your thoughts on this one? Just a crazy season for MyHell as he gets number 1.
Just got a call there. I think with MyHell, it was kind of a no-brainer for him, number 1. I mean, I'm gonna read some of these stats off here that aren't quite on the resume on screen here, but 7 top 25 wins. He has a 7-2 record against the playoff field, which blows everyone else out of the water. 11, an average finish of 11, And then of course 14-2 series record, 67-47 game record. The one interesting thing I'll note is his strength of schedule is .601, which is actually 10th of the playoff field. So in the a little bit below the in the bottom half actually of that, which is a little surprising. But I mean that's not really going to matter, especially when you have 14 wins. But I mean Myhel 2 tournament wins. What an incredible season for him. And this is the second season in a row we have someone who has won 2 tournaments. So now I guess the question is going to be, are we going to have someone who does this in 2026? Is that going to be something we have to watch out for? We'll see. But I mean, I mentioned it at the start of the season. If you win 2 tournament belts, you're pretty much going to be the 1 seed. And I think for Myhel, that's kind of undisputed. I mean, there was really only 2 people who kind of jumped out from the pack at this point. So we will see that soon with our next spot in this reveal. But again, Myhel's gotten so many crucial wins in his season and doesn't have a bad loss. Both of them to playoff players. One of them is Arnhem, the other is Red. So both pretty solid losses. But again, I mean the wins on Ami, Geo, Pikachu, Bree, and then beating Cyan twice. I mean, it really does not get much better than that. This is one of the best seasons we've seen in general by anyone in either division, to be honest. So I'm very excited to see what he does in D1, but I'm also very excited to see what he does in the D2 championship because, as Yoshi mentioned, he's definitely going to be a threat to win it all.
Absolutely will be, and like I mentioned, it would have been a discussion should he have lost that Justice July finale. So you could probably guess who your number 2 player is. Here it is. Your number 2 player is going to be Saiyan Titan, who Myhel beat both times in his tournament runs to tournament wins. Beat him in the Final 4 in Meteorological May 5-4, and then he beat him in the finale 5-4 of Justice July. But I mean, there wasn't really much doubt. I was there for the game at the end of T4. It was pretty cut and dry. We really did think 1 seed was on the line. He finished 12-4, and he started with slightly went better. He had the 2 Sweet 16s, so he didn't go out earlier than the Sweet 16. Fell to Sam England in 9 in February, and then to Ami in 5 in Archery April, and then of course the 2 losses to Myhel. I mean, not a bad. What a season from him as well. We talked about Myhel plenty. Saiyan's also done a great job this year. He's, this is going from a guy that, came in halfway last season, only didn't really get off the ground, had back in the best of 5 era, and the old bot, and definitely was a frustrating time for him, but now here he is, 2 seed in the championship. Your thoughts on the comeback here from Saiyan? Obviously, not necessarily comeback, but just the season for him, and also just massive improvements both as a player and as a person moving on, as he's also been pretty involved with media side of things. Just a great season from him.
I'll mention this here. Last season, Cyan played a total of 8 games. This season, 103. So big jump there, but. I mean, for last season, it's like Cyan really just didn't appear. That's kind of all I could really say. I mean, he won. He played in 2 tournaments and lost in both in the first round. So didn't really do much last season, but this season he's really kind of found his element here, and it's been a really good showing for him. 6 top 25 wins, including 2 potential extras with West and Breath on that run, ending their seasons. 7 average finish of 7, which is the best in the league. That does help with 2 Final Fours, and then also never going out earlier than the round of 16. Really good losses. I mean, the Sam England one technically is a decent loss because it's kind of like a what if scenario because he dropped out of the season after that, but then losses to Myhel, which is the 1 seed, and then Ami, Ami is in the playoffs. So Yeah, I mean, we talked about that Justice July finale. If he did win that, I'm not sure if he would have gotten the 1 seed exactly. I mean, that definitely would have been a massive debate. I think there's a few points that goes both ways. I mean, Science strength of schedule is second best of the playoff contenders. I was gonna say division, but we only did the playoff contenders because yeah, I mean those are the ones that matter.
Right.
0.625 for the strength of schedule. Only one person had a better strength of schedule. I think the record for his playoff field is interesting. He's only 3-3, although two of those losses are from My Hill. So,
Hmm.
only 3 wins against the playoff field. We'll see if that plays a factor into the D2 championship. But I mean, for now, with Cyan, did a good job most of the season and is now going to be entering as the 2 seed and is also looking to be a threat because now he's got a bit of a chip on his shoulder to try to beat Milo because he is now 0-2 in his career against him.
0-2, and there's a good chance we could see them play twice in the championship with how double elimination goes. As you see the bracket real quickly, they are 1-2, but it's very possible we could see them face a couple times depending on how things go. But Yoshi, your thoughts on the season for Cyan? Obviously we would. For that is also wish Sam England all the best. Hopefully we'll see him back in 2026. Had some personal things come up, that's why he dropped to just mention that. But who knows what he could have done. He was solid in the time he played this season. But yeah, your thoughts on Cyan's season and moving forward into the championship.
Yeah, the way I see it, I think last season for Cyan was just kind of his rookie season, right? He was just getting used to how this league is, and having a bad first season is really not the worst thing in the world, right? Because you can, and now because you go into the next season now with all being able to play all tournaments, and everything's on the table. Whatever you played in the last season does not matter now, and I think Cyan did end up going Super Saiyan in this season, really just not losing early at all. Being one of the only players to do so. Um, never dropping a game before never dropping a set before the Sweet 16, and only got better over time. Two Sweet 16s into a Final Four into a finale. I mean, like I believe he has the best average finish. It definitely at least for the top 25 for sure. So I mean that's huge and really showing that he's a force to be reckoned with. Like he can beat a lot of the players here, and when it comes to those top guys, it is more questionable, right? Because we do see the double loss to My Hill, although both those losses were very close. Looking back at them, so I feel like Cyan at worst is going to go close against these top players for sure. Even in a loss, it'll be a close match whether you like it or not. So there's a lot that Cyan could be thinking about. Obviously, I think he expected to be number 2, and I don't. For most people, it's not a surprise that he's here. So that's not for him. The concern is how far can he get into the championship, and can he prove that he can hang with with the top guys and not go out early? Because I mean, he's proven himself to be promoted into D1. So all you can really think about now is can you prove yourself even further? But yeah, I mean, he did not much negative things to say about Cyan. I mean, his losses are good. A lot of he has some solid wins. Uh, was the closest to being number 1 without being number 1, obviously, because he lost to the number 1 twice. I think, his season was definitely one of the best of anyone here, and yeah, I mean, him being number 2 is just a testament as to why that's the case. So yeah, I mean, not much else to say. He's improved immensely, and yeah, looking forward to how he plays going forward.
Yeah, the best average finish of any player that's played 4 tournaments in D2 this season, a 7. Obviously, not the best average finish because there's some people that only played 1 tournament. Say Nathan only played the first tournament and then left, placed fourth in the average, but by over 4 tournaments, a 7. Huge, crazy. And he's also tops in gameplay metric average in 4 tournaments, 8 on average. 8, 6, 7, 7, 9, 4, 9, 8. Those are T1 through 4 respectively. So very strong season from him. And yeah, like I said before, it would have been a discussion. Not necessarily would he have gotten if he had beaten My Hell and Justice July, but it would have been a discussion had he had won that finale. It would have been a strong discussion. Would it be guaranteed to him? Who knows? We'll never know because that didn't happen. Anywho, we kind of all knew what number 1 and number 2 were. The only 2 double-digit win players in this Division 2 season, and now it starts to get fun. Obviously, there are still 2 more top 4 spots left, 2 buys left to give, and it's time to reveal your number 3 player right now. Number 3, who will it be? I don't know if I meant to rhyme or not. Anyway, number 3, your number 3 player is going to be Mark. Number 3, 9-1-4, 54 and 39 this season. Just a great season from Mark, and it started in February, running through to the finale, falling to the February Flurry champ in Luke in 11 games. And a couple round of 2 exits to Rana and myself, and then picked it up to the Final 4 and did lose to Saiyan in 9 in the Final 4. So, a great season from Mark, all things considered. Unfortunately, have the DQ win. Going to see a lot of those as we move down the list, unfortunately, but, it is what it is. G, your thoughts on Mark? I don't think he was smelling top 4 without that T4 run to the Final 4. I think he probably wouldn't have been in this situation, so it was a clutch run for him to the Final 4 to get him into this number 3 spot.
Yeah, I mean, you look at where he is in terms of the average finish. Because, I mean, for Mark, 14.75, which is... it's all right. It's pretty good, but it could be better. But I mean, he has 2 round of 32 exits. Wasn't looking good, but I'm telling you, he was entering this tournament in Justice July in a similar spot as he was last season, and we talked about it then. A massive what if where he lost that Game 7 to Alex, and that could have been his ticket into the D2 Championship. Flashed forward to this year, and he makes it to the regional finals. Faces Tim, who was actually a debutant who was going on an insane run, but Mark got the win, and he is one of only 3 people to make 2 Final Fours in the season, and with a finale to add on as well, and a very good February Flurry finale. Mark did it. He got justice for himself from last season, and now he's the 3 seed, and he is heading off to D1. So congratulations to Mark. He definitely had a few hiccups along the way, but managed to overcome them. And ultimately got some pretty solid wins to add onto his resume as well. 6 top 25 wins, which again, same as Cyan, doesn't have the 2 additional potentials. 4 and 3 against the playoff field, which is pretty good. A .61 NIAM strength of schedule, which is 4th best. 54-39 game record, and again, I mean, reading off some of these wins, got a win on Red, got a win on Arnim. Win on Bree as well. I mean, that Tim win, although technically it doesn't have as much weight, I think that is something you do consider as well, because Tim was going on quite the run there. But I think for Mark, he's going to be pretty happy seeing this. We know how last season felt, where he was close to making the field and didn't quite get there, but this season is a big turnaround for him. Gets 9 wins with a DQ win, and technically get a bye also, so you can make the argument he could have gotten the 10 wins as well. Of course, that's not actually what we consider per se, but the argument could be there. But I mean, it was a good season from Mark, although I think there were definitely 2 tournaments that were the highlights. But if you have that weakness where it's you have 2 round 32 exits, the best way you could fix that is having 2 Final Fours. So ultimately it works out for Mark, and he is going to be the 3 seed for this one.
3 seed for Mark the third, bye in the championship. Yoshi, your thoughts on his season as he moves forward to the championship?
Yeah, when you look at his case for being in the spot, I think the biggest thing that I remember G referring to, which I think I kind of forgot about, but I think I still had him third in my list as well, was that he is the only player besides the top two to have two Final Four appearances. Um, and despite the round of 32 exits, they're not round of 64 exits, right? He still got past one round or had a bye. Because I remember T2 had a lot of players. T3 probably more players for him to not be. Oh, actually, no. T3 wasn't enough players for 64, so he ended up having a bye in that one. But regardless, um, I think that's the biggest case for him. And despite two not mediocre tournaments, they weren't necessarily bad because they could have been round of 64 exits. So yeah, just keeping that in mind, and I think that's what helped him the most. Obviously, his season started off pretty good. In hindsight, most of those wins, half of those wins weren't much, but half of those wins were actually pretty solid towards the end. I think T4 was the biggest. Obviously, T4 was the biggest help because most of the wins he got were quality wins. Arnhem and Red, ironically, being the two players that MyHill lost to. And then the losses, right? I mean, he only had one loss outside of the top 25. So didn't really hurt him too much, even though and at the end of the day, that is also a hindsight loss because Rana ended up dropping early as well. So a lot of questions with that one, but I think he deserved this. He kind of similar to MyHill. He got close to being in the championship outright, but didn't make it out and had to play in the LCQ. Ended up losing to Short. So yeah, 0-2 on Short, ironically. In his, in his sorry, that scared me a little bit.
Short jump scare.
I had to. Anyway.
No, I get it. Yeah, I think technically the only player with 10 wins if you count that DQ win as a win, but I mean, still, like, there's a lot for Mark that wasn't. He didn't have there wasn't much against him. I feel like he did enough. I think, yeah, definitely deserving and definitely one of the kind of a unique player to me because I feel like he started off with a very OG style. I feel like he's kind of switched it up, but not too much. I think he's figured out a way where he can kind of mix up his strategy a little bit, to where he can do pretty well against most players. Obviously, losing early a couple of times, but beside that, it overall worked out well. And I really want to. I'm very curious about how he does in D1. He can either do really well or really poorly. That's the kind of the way I see Mark doing. But yeah, regardless, that we got a long way till that. What we care about now is the championship. So curious to see how Mark goes into that one, and I think he's going to be happy about being number 3 because I remember after he lost to Cyan, he really hoped he did enough to be promoted. So very good stuff for Mark, man. Not much bad to say.
Outright promoted for Mark, number 3, and there's one spot left that has the bye for this D2 championship. Your number 4 player is about to be revealed, and again, the DQs. I mean, before we get to that, the DQs. I mean, I think it'll be quite a bit, unfortunately, in this postseason field. I can't remember how many. Check that. I think 8. Yeah, 8 of them amongst the 18 players that are postseason eligible. It's just unfortunate how it goes, but again, I think we had talked about this plenty. The fact that in meetings amongst the commission is that the systems we put together have made it so we hopefully don't have nearly as many. Again, Justice July, only 1 DQ in round 1, out of our control personally, so it's definitely going to be an improvement. come 2026. Anyway, your number 4 player coming your way right now. And your number 4 player is going to be King of Red, coming in at 9-4, 48-36. And Red started his season going to the regional finals of February as a 10 seed. It was a 10v13 regional final against Bree, and Bree won it in 8 to go to the final 4 in her first tournament. And for a minute was the only person locked into LCQ under the 5 true win mark. Obviously, see in a moment there's a couple below that mark at this point, and we'll see her record later down the line. But she made that final 4. Then Red fell in round 2 to Sky in 6, and then in Archery April. Meteorological May made the final 4 run and fell to Bob Ross. Bob Ross would end up placing second in that one.
Second, yeah.
Yeah, second in that tournament, and then capped it off with the Sweet 16 run, which was ended by the number 3 player in this championship in Mark and 5. So that really seems to be the difference, right, between 3 and 4. Did it really come down to that T4 result between those two, or was there anything more to it than that?
I think Mark still had a stronger case. Although if Red won that probably would be a different argument. But let's say we throw that head-to-head out, it never happened. I still think Mark would have had a stronger resume at this point, because I mean, we look at the Red, and this is where we start seeing a few flaws per se. Because I think for Red, his strength of schedule was not great. 5-5-4, that's 4th worst of the playoff field, and only 2 top 25 wins. So he's struggling a bit there. But he did go 3-3 against the playoff field, and he does have a huge win. In MyHale, only 2 people beat MyHale all season, so that's a big thing that you do consider as well, because he does have that crucial head-to-head. But yeah, for Red also, he's the only rookie in this top 4 as well. The other 3 were in last season, so Red, this is his first season. But it's been a really good one. I mean, again, besides the MyHale win, does have a win against U-Short, which is a playoff win. Has a win against Taco as well. He's another playoff contender, so. But I think for Red, with his average finish also being a 13, which is a bit higher than the majority of the playoff field, I think he was able to stay consistent enough to where he could find himself in the field. I mean, it's a little bit all over the place, but 3 of the 4 tournaments he made it to the round of 16, so that is pretty good. Had a bit of a hiccup at tournament 2, but there were a few people we considered for this 4 spot. We'll see them later as we go on, but ultimately I think with Red having a 3-3 playoff record against the field, pretty good average finish, and then also having that head-to-head for MyHale, I think it was enough for him to land his 4 spot. It was close, but I think for Red, he hangs on. I know he's probably going to be very happy seeing this, because he was not really sure where he was going to end up going into this one.
Yeah, and that's something I think gets lost in the woodshed that I even forgot for a moment, is the fact that Red, this is his first season. Like, there were a lot of new faces in Division 2 this year. Not everyone hung in there for it. Red was one of them that hung in for the season and gets a top 4 spot. And G, you just had to bring up that game. You had to bring up that particular playoff win. How dare you? Anyway,
listen, I don't make the resumes, the players do.
Anyway, yeah, number 4 for Red. So again, look at the bracket again. Your buys are set, your top 4. So those guys are basically all but in D1 at this point for next season. No chance that they finish outside of the top 8. That is what guarantees you promotion. And now we look ahead to the bottom half of this championship field, and the next few names here are going to be playing in the opening round of the Division 2 championship. And be it's quite simple for them if they want to get promoted. It's really just get a win, and with it being double elimination, even if you fall out in the opening round, if you could still get a win in that loser's bracket, you still have your spot in Division 1 next season. Thoughts on those stakes for those guys?
Yeah, I mean, I think for this one you have a good chance to get promotion, especially with how the D1 field's shaping out. I mean, there is a scenario where we could have 12 promotion spots, so technically everyone who's in the D2 Championship gets promoted. There is a scenario where that happens. That's not confirmed, though. Number is currently not 12 at the moment, but again, I think doing well in this D2 Championship is going to be big for a lot of these players who are not in the top 4 spots, both in terms of promotion if they want that, and also just doing well in the playoffs, because again, if you win this D2 Championship, you do get immortalized in the league, so you do want to get that win as well, and that is a good stepping stone for you going into D1 in the future. But again, I don't think, I actually think I never answered this before, because you were asking about what the toughest part was when making these lists. I think this is really, I think 4 you can make an argument for, but I think this here and beyond is where it really started getting tough, because there are a lot of good players here that are very, very close. So I think deciphering everything here from this point forward got really tough, but
Yeah.
ultimately we did come with a list here, and we're going to start things off with number 5 once you are ready to do so.
Yeah, and I'll just make note of it. I mean, you see the seeds on your screen. So number 5 is going to be in that opening round, and they're going to go up against the LCQ Bracket B winner, which we'll talk about the LCQ brackets once we get the rest of these players that are in the championship revealed. But the winner in the game that they're being placed in will face off against Red in the winners quarterfinals. So we are going to give you your number 5 player coming up right now, and your number 5 player is going to be Pikachu. Amazing Pikachu, 8-4, 39-27, and it came down to, he made the round 1 loss, which was just absolutely crazy. Was a top seed and fell to Scars, who played as a 16 seed out of a play, and unfortunately for him, not much more coming out of his season, and not able to be playoff eligible, falling 2 wins short, as despite that run wasn't to the Final Four. And then back-to-back Sweet 16 exits to Rana and Saiyan. And then Injustice July, this was kind of the run that kind of propelled him up to this spot, I would think. Falling to MyHell in the Final Four in 8. A solid season for Pikachu. You know, he was in the championship a season ago, out of the LCQ, if memory serves me correctly. And now he started his Justice July run by solidifying his spot into LCQ. He wasn't even locked into the postseason going into the final tournament. And now here he is at number 5. G, your thoughts on Pikachu, especially with that T4 run, really solidified his spot up here?
I think for Pikachu, this is definitely going to be a really great feeling, because again, he had to make it into the D Championship last year through the LCQ, and it was looking like there was a situation where he was going to have to do the same again and possibly go back to back, but had a really great Justice July. I mean, you kind of see with the season, started at the bottom, then slowly climbed his way to the top, made the Final Four in Justice July, and I think that ultimately was enough for him to make the field. I mean, for his resume, 39-27 game record, 609 strength of schedule, which is 6th best. 3 top 25 wins, 2-2 record against the playoff field. I think the biggest thing, though, his average finish kind of got tanked from the round 64 exit, 19.75. That is definitely below average compared to the rest of the field. But I think for Pikachu, got a lot of big wins where he needed them. White Spider, J-Money, those are pretty notable wins for him to get on the season. And then got another top 25 win in Emmy. So that one ends up helping him a bit, even if it is lower top 25. But yeah, I think with Pikachu, played a lot of tough competition and did get some notable wins throughout. Again, 3 top 25 wins, so that does go about average, but he did a pretty good job all season, besides the hiccup at the start of the season. And again, kind of slowly built his way up to the top and ended up having a really good Justice July, and that's enough to push him into the field. So again, great stuff to Pikachu. He makes it in, and I think he's in a really good spot for promotion as well, because at the moment we're looking at some withdrawals in between seasons for D1, so he might just get a spot outright if he ends up having a poor D2 championship run, but we'll see. I think he'll want to still do really well in this championship as well and get some justice for last season after going 2 and out. So we'll see what he ends up doing here, but it's going to be his second appearance to the D2 championship, and we'll see if he can make it further this time.
Ultimately, you can't. I think from my perspective as a player in this division, I don't think, even though I know kind of from behind the scenes that like there might be some extra spots opening up, possibly. Nothing confirmed yet, as G said. You really want to make sure you just solidify it. Don't even think about the possibility of, if I finish 9th or 10th, maybe I could maybe get in. You want to have it. You want to lock it in. Leave no doubt. And make D1. That's my personal belief. But again, for the viewers, Yoshi's unable to speak at the moment while we're recording this, so I'm gonna tell his shoes with the thoughts in a little bit. He'll come back to talk some players in a little bit. But the big wins to me that stick out obviously are White Spider and J Money. J Money being a tournament winner, White Spider in playoff position. In terms of his resume, so. But yeah, kind of like G said, from the bottom to the top, start with a round at 1 exit to the final 4 at the end of the season. Just a great season for Pikachu, and we'll see if second time around he can get the job done. If he can get the job done here in the championship, obviously coming out of the LCQ, and the fact that we have less in the LCQ is quite a different beast than it was a season ago, which we'll talk about when we get to that bracket. And I'll mention the fact also as we move forward to number 6, you still have 2 tournament winners on the board that are going to fit into this field at some point. Obviously tournament wins are not everything to getting top 4 or even top 6 necessarily. But we are moving on to your number 6 player. And so your number 6 player is going to be your Archery April winner, J Money, coming in at 8-1-2, 39-25. And of course, it's well documented, unfortunately. He's got a busy life, J Money. Started February Flurry, unfortunately did not participate, got a DQ loss on the record, technically. Being round 1, didn't technically participate. And then follows it up, 14 seed run to the Archery April title. And mind you, beat Joao in that final. It was a 14 seed versus a 14 seed in the finale. So it was a crazy showing of parity in Archery April. And then of course, round 2 lost to Bob Ross, who did get the silver in Meteorological May, and then pushed that final run to the regional final where he fell to Pikachu in 8 games. G, your thoughts on J Money? Has the tournament belt, but again, as I mentioned, tournament belts aren't everything. It also comes down to the resume, and that's why he's down here at number 6. Still a solid season from him, but tournament belts aren't everything. Ultimate.
Yeah, J Money has one of the most bizarre resumes I've seen in a while because he has a DQ loss technically. I mean, we're not going to penalize him too much for that because he had a lot of things going on, unfortunately. And ultimately that is what it is. But then he responded right after by winning Tournament 2, so he locked his spot up. But after Tournament 3, a lot of people were slotting him in as a easy 10 seed, but I mean, that Justice July run, he was like, hold on, I still got some gas in the tank here, and made it to the regional finals. And I'm going to mention this also, eliminating the round of 8 by Pikachu, that is notable. I think he and Pikachu had kind of similar resumes in a way, although J Money's strength schedule was a little worse, 5-7-1, which is lower half. But he did have three top 25 wins and additional 4th potentially with Jordy. Did go 3-2 against the playoff field. That is a little better than Pikachu's 2-2, and then I mean, the average finish 24.75. I mean, that kind of gets tanked from the DQ loss in the in February flurry, but I mean, Pikachu has the head-to-head over Jade Money, so I mean, with how close they were, I mean, that's kind of a no-brainer to put Pikachu over. But I think Jade Money's had a pretty solid season with what it's worth. I mean, technically played in only 3 tournaments, and 2 of them he made the regional finals, and in the one tournament he didn't. He lost to the person who got second. So at the end of the day, that's still a quality loss. Yeah, 8-1-2. And you know, I gotta mention also, he got the 8 wins with technically 1 last tournament, so that's something to note as well. It's pretty impressive stuff from J Money, but at the end of the day, still kind of a little bit all over the board here. But I think 6 is a nice spot for him to land here. Got some good wins over Evan, Ami, Joao, some playoff contenders, and then of course Jordy to mention as well. But yeah, I know this is KT's boy. I know he's hoping J Money does really well in the playoffs and goes up to D1, but we'll see. J Money's a bit of a wild card, I think, in this tournament. We really don't know where he's going to land in terms of how he does in the field, but he's going to be playing the LCQ-A winner in the opening round, so I am going to be curious to see how that one all shapes out. But it's going to be interesting to watch J Money because I think he's someone who has a definitely a very high ceiling in terms of how well he can do in this championship.
Yeah, the LCQ-A winner and the winner of that matchup will face off with our 3-seed Mark in winners' quarters. We will see, obviously, again, we'll talk LCQ. Now to number 7. Just 7, 8, 9, 10. 4 spots remain in this championship. And then there will be 8 players vying for the last 2 spots in an LCQ field. Your number 7 player is your February Flurry champion in Luke, 8-3, 42-27. And for Luke, you know, it's interesting because we really thought that he was gonna be the next dominant player with how he ran the table in February. And then had the tournament win hangover against Ninja Jack, swept out, and then made the Sweet 16 against and fell to White Spider Meteorological May, and then another round 1 exit to 6 in Justice July. So, gee, for Luke, a very interesting season. You know, he's got some good wins. Taco and Mark being 2 of them that are playoff eligible. Nathan would have been playoff eligible had he wanted to play the full season, as he got himself LCQ eligible in that same February run, as he beat Nathan in the Final 4 of February. So interesting season though from Luke, because he had the resume to get there, but still it seems like you wonder, can he finish the job with how you had those tough round 1 exits? It's an interesting season, no doubt.
Yeah, I mean, it started off really good for Luke. A lot of people were just pitching him as a contender, but unfortunately, the rest of the season kind of fell apart. I mean, he is one of only 3 playoff contenders that have 2 round of 64 exits, which is not a great look. Does have some decent wins. I mean, the win over Mark and Nathan are pretty good, but again, it's unfortunately I'm going to mention this also. He has the worst strength of schedule of everyone in the playoffs, 5-3-7. That's nearly an entire point below the next person. So not great. 42-27 game record's pretty good. But he also has the 2nd worst average finish of the field with a 26, which is kind of abysmal. But I think where it kind of gets to a bit of an uptick is, one, he did win February Flurry. That's a big thing to note. He also has 3 top 25 wins with a potential 4th with Clint. Yes, Clint is a potential top 25 ad. So that's fun to say. And also his record against the playoff field is we threw in a 0.5 for Nathan because technically he was eligible, but 2.51, so that's pretty good. I mean, his 1 loss was to White Spider from the playoff field, but he did get wins over Mark, Nathan, and Taco. So, I mean, those are definitely his 3 biggest wins, and he got them all in order. So I think for Luke, it was a massive high, but then some lows throughout the season. I think he's going to be very thankful he won February Flurry, because if he did not, I'm not really sure he would have made the field, because then he would have been 7-4 and he would have been losing one of those top 25 wins. So I think for Luke, that February Flurry win comes in massive clutch. He does land at the 7th spot here, so he's going to have to work a bit more to get into D1. And I mean, this is also a 5-spot drop from where he was in the last reveal show, because he was ranked number 2, but bit of a drop here from the last one. But I think for Luke, it could have been worse. Again, not a great strength of schedule, not a great average finish, but I think the upside is he has a decent record against the playoff field, so that might be something to watch out for in terms of when we get to the championship.
And Yoshi's back for this one. Yoshi, I'll go to you on Luke. As G was saying, it's kind of the February Flurry win is kind of what got him in this field, obviously dropping 5 spots from that round 1 loss to 6, but still 3 playoff wins. A playoff player wins, Taco, Nathan, and Mark. But your thoughts on his season and, what he's got to do to really step on the gas again, get that momentum back in order to try and get that promotion spot.
Yeah, I think his season was definitely interesting to look at. We saw that tournament win, which made him look pretty unstoppable. We even saw KT kind of looking at the way, kind of streaming some games, seeing how Luke is playing, and I feel like even he got a sense that Luke was going to be a threat. But unfortunately, I think he just, the losses he had were just quite unfortunate, to say the least. I mean, I think it was mostly out of his control. Maybe the match against Six he could have won, but definitely that T2 loss definitely was definitely not the way he wanted things to go. Yeah, the biggest, like, you see, like, players towards the top, and more so, they don't really have anything glaring that would keep them away from being at the top. We get to the point where we're getting to players where each of these players has a glaring issue. For Luke, it's the fact that he's lost in the round 64 twice. And yeah, I mean, there's not much to say about it. At the end of the day, even if you lose by just card luck, we take the placement at face value. We can't use that as a metric. We can't take each game how lucky it was as a metric. So unfortunately, that ended up hurting him quite a bit. The loss against Ninjax and the loss against Six. So yeah, I mean, I think despite that, he had 2 pretty solid tournaments as well. It's not like it was a one and done for Luke. He at least had something to show in T3. Ended up losing the White Spider, which is, I would say that's a good loss. And it kind of definitely one of the least consistent players. Definitely very polarizing. Going from a tournament win to a round 1 exit, definitely not something you see a lot, but it has happened before. I think Luke is definitely still. I still feel like he could get back into that groove where he can start winning multiple times again. I wouldn't be surprised if he goes on a run in this championship. What he cares about most, as I think we all know, is he wants to be promoted. He kind of knew from the start when he lost to Six that he was done from promotion. He probably wasn't going to make it there, which unfortunately ended up being true given everyone else just did what they needed to do. So, yeah, I mean, I think Luke, I think he's still a threat, right? Like, despite the round 1 losses, those guys are not even in the field, right? The only one who's could be in the field is White Spider, in terms of players he's lost to. So, from that aspect, he's actually, he's playing people he's either beaten or he hasn't played yet. So, I think this might actually work out for Luke here, depending on whose first opponent will be in the championship. But he at least, I mean, he knew he was going to be the championship no matter what. He definitely would have liked to be promoted, but unfortunately, just things don't work out sometimes. I think Luke is a player who can easily bounce back, and it would not surprise me if he goes on a run. He just needs to keep his mental there. maybe don't think too much about the card start. Just play the game, and make sure you use that power play to your advantage, because we've seen it before where sometimes using a power play before the end is good, but sometimes it doesn't work out. You have to find that balance, and I think Luke has kind of an unbalanced season with the matches with the tournaments, but hopefully he can find the balances he's looking for in the championship.
Yeah, looking for that balance. We'll see if he can keep it stable. Just needs the win. Move forward, move up. Obviously, yeah, to guarantee it. And I'll mention again, he would, if he were to win, he would get Saiyan in the winners quarters, the 2 seed, and we'll reveal the 10 seed in a little bit. But right now we're gonna go to our number 8 player in Division 2 this season, and your number 8 player is going to be Ridley. Ridley at 8-1-4, 44-32, and fell to Nathan in February Flurry in 9 in the round of 16, and then made the Final 4 run, fell to Joao in Archery April, again in 9, and then regional final lost to Saiyan, and then swept out by Jordy, who was making a furious run but fell short for the LCQ. Has the DQ win that we don't really need to jump in on. But ultimately, in terms of playoff eligible players, just the one win against Geo, but still very strong losses. Apart from maybe the Jordy loss, since Jordy didn't quite make it to the postseason. But still a solid season from Ridley. 8 true wins. G, your thoughts here is, I mean, not as many playoff wins, but the losses are pretty damn strong.
Yeah, I mean, Nathan, Joao, Saiyan, a good loss. Jordy went on a run, so I mean, that's not as bad as it could be. I mean, that tournament 4 was kind of unfortunate for Ridley. Won in a sweep in the round 64, then just got completely swept down the round 32.
Pulled a Tago right there.
Match one. In a way, yes, pulled a Tago, but Ridley's had an interesting season. Again, I think they had a good start in February, making the round of 16, although I think they could have beat Nathan, ultimately didn't win that one, but made up for it in Tournament 2, made it to the Final 4, but then lost to Joao in that one, another 5-4. I mean, they played people close. That's the biggest thing for Ridley, but Tournament 3 was very weird. They still got a regional final run out of it, but it was a very bizarre tournament for Ridley, but I mean, they'll take it for the average finish. In terms of their stats, I mean, average finish 14 is just, again, that's kind of it's okay in terms of the playoff field. They have a 1 in 2.5 record versus the playoff, which isn't great. And their strength of schedule 5-5-8, not the best, but I think the biggest thing for them is they have 5 top 25 wins, which a good few of them are in the lower half, but that's still 5 top 25 wins. That is part of the criteria, so that is a big help for Ridley to help them get in. And 44-32 game record is pretty good as well in terms of the game win percentage. So I think for Ridley being able to get a lot of those upper mid-pack wins was big to help them out. Doesn't really get reflected in the strength of schedule, but I think, again, wins on Emmy, Marcus, Ninja Jax, Nifty, those are all big. I think their biggest win is Geo. That's a crucial head-to-head. Geo is in the playoffs, so that is where the one playoff win comes in. But I think for Ridley, it's been all over the place. They were in a good spot coming into this tournament. I think the round 32 loss definitely threw things in for a bit of a loop, but ultimately they do still make the field as the 8th seed. So technically the last home advantage for the opening round. So we'll see how they use that. But I know Ridley actually had a lot of questions about how this would all shape out coming into this one. So I am curious to see how what they'll think with where they end up landing. But they do make the championship field. They still had a pretty good season. But again, I think there was definitely some spots where they were hoping something went a little differently, especially with Tournament 3 being a little bit less chaotic for them, and then Tournament 4, of course, not having that unfortunate match against Jordy. But Again, still make the field, still a pretty good season. I think the 5 top 25 wins are a big help there. As they do ultimately do make it in. And this is where it got. This is definitely where it got really tight, but really definitely had their nose ahead out of a few other contenders. So they do end up making it at 8.
Yeah, this is where the criteria it gets really tight. Obviously, tons of players at 8 true wins in the end here. After red, it's all 8 and below. Moving down, Yoshi, your thoughts on Ridley's season? And definitely, it's drawing straws at this point with these last few players, with them all being in similar record positions.
That is true. I think when I was looking at who would take the last 3 spots, it came to a point where I felt like the best, like, it becomes down to like which criteria do you favor over another, right? Because some players are highly favored on consistency, but some are favored on quality wins. And chances are, if you have consistency, you may not have those quality wins, and if you have quality wins, you may not be consistent and only got those quality wins from like 1 or 2 runs. So there's a lot of back and forth with that, and I feel like when you look into Ridley, their consistency, technically they're not super consistent because they got a Final Four, an Elite Eight, a Sweet 16, and a round of 32. So, but it's not like the most scattered thing in the world either, right? It's still kind of like in, it's not like it's not like Luke where it's a tournament win and a round 64 exit. It's like he went from a Final Four to round of 32 and went and did everything in between. So definitely an interesting resume off that, and then obviously with the wins, not the greatest quality win resume in that sense, obviously. But like you said, Geo definitely going to be a big one. The loss is definitely you look at and think they're all pretty good. I mean, none are necessarily bad. And just taking into account just a couple other things. I mean, on average, their average finish is pretty decent as well. Kind of in that same field with Red. I think we have to keep in mind that Ridley was after T2 they actually were at number 1, right? And that's not like a reason why they're here, but just like keeping that in mind, like they still did enough to make it into the field. And despite the last tournament being their worst performance, they still had a lot going for them. They didn't have much against them, I feel. I mean, there were a couple things obviously, but nothing too bad that dropped them out. It was just a matter of like what do you really favor? Do you favor the consistency that Ridley has shown, or do you favor maybe some other players who have a good quality record, win record? So, but yeah, I think Ridley, the Geo win, I think was probably the biggest thing that helped him get to this spot to me, because for someone who is relatively consistent, you at least have wins here and there that are considered quality. So, and yeah, and obviously the losses are pretty, like, you can't say much about the losses. So, I think overall, really had a shaky last tournament and made things a little bit scary, but he ends up having a sigh of relief here and keeping himself in the field.
Keeping himself in the field, and we'll play an 8-9 matchup against our next player that will be revealed. And again, there's the mention of the fact that there's going to be one 8 true win player left in the cold here. With how many there are, at least one will be left out in the cold. Who knows where else we will get Well, so we'll get there. We know, but you'll find out in a second. But yeah, this next player will be facing off against Ridley for the right to play MyHell in the next round of the D2 Championship, and your number 9 player is going to be also 8-1-4, and it is Taco. Games record of 42 and 34. Taco started off, unfortunately, in February with a DQ win over not DJ Curtis, but a different DJ who has not played since. Fell to Luke's run in the regional finals in February in a best of 9. Yes. And then a round 2 exit to Shadowhunter. Obviously, little posterities that we missed that rematch when we built that bracket. So he has a win and a loss against Shadowhunter. And then Meteorological May made another regional final and fell to Red in 8. And then Justice July fell to Breath in the Sweet 16. And again, another person in the same season, 1-1 in the head-to-head, got a win against Breath in February as well. Might have been April.
Yeah, I think it was April.
It was in April, yeah. But yeah, solid season from Taco, 9th spot. We'll look to try and win a kind of a coin flip game against Ridley, and that's kind of your first confirmed matchup of the championship. 8 versus 9, Ridley versus Taco in the opening round. G, your thoughts on Taco's season as a whole here? Obviously, had a couple of those wins. The losses are pretty solid. Luke and Red, for especially Joao with a playoff player win. Had a win over Aiden Smith as well, who could have easily been a playoff player had he played the entire season. We wish him all the best, of course, but also against Arnhem, also a playoff player. Your thoughts on this season?
Yeah, I mean, for Taco, I thought it's definitely a much better season compared to last season. I mean, he made the LCQ, but he also was, we called him a play-in merchant because all his wins came from the play-ins. But I think for Taco, this is definitely a good uptick. Definitely was close in terms of making it in, but did get the nod. I mean, for his game record, 42 and 34, it's good, not great. But I mean, besides that, 13 average finish of 13, 2-2 record against the playoff. Has 3 top 25 wins with a potential 4th with Breath, and a 6-0-7 strength of schedule. So it's pretty good when you consider that as well. But yeah, I think in general for Taco here, I think his best win out of the field, probably looking at a Joao. Which is a good win to have. I think there's definitely players who have higher wins, though, but also has another win against Arnhem, which is the 2nd playoff win. But I think his losses are pretty solid as well. Luke, Red, Breath, Shadow. I mean, not bad. Shadow, again, is a bit of a what if because he dropped after Tournament 2. Breath had that run in Tournament 4, so that does get a little better, but Breath also technically evens the series there. So technically he has 2 players that he has a 1-1 record on in his resume, so that's a unique feature he has with that, but that also kind of maybe drags him down a little bit, but at the same time still has the 1 there, so that kind of helps as well. But yeah, I think for Taco it got close. I think ultimately some good consistency. He had 3 of the 4 tournaments he made at least around 16. He has 2 regional finals appearances, so that does help a little bit. But again, we're kind of getting into the territory where that's very similar to a lot of other people down here, so it does get tight. I think ultimately he does get the edge with a slightly better average finish than some people, but also just a good strength of schedule that he has as well, which some players don't quite have, and then getting the top 25 win to boot as well. But and for Taco, it was close, but he landed the 9th spot. He will play Ridley in the opening round, and we'll see where he goes from there.
Yoshi, brief thoughts on Taco season, and then give me a little bit of a taste of what you would expect from the A9 game here between Ridley and Taco coming up in the opening round.
Yeah, Taco is definitely a player where I think it's tough. It's tough to talk about him. I feel like he's kind of one of the players who I mean, maybe you could argue is an under the radar player in a way. Like you don't look at him as like one of the top people. Obviously, he's still like, he was still in a good spot to potentially be in the championship. Uh, Even after tournaments, the first three tournaments. So, uh, he had that round of 32 exit in T2, which was a rematch. Which it seems well, the interesting story with Taco is that it just seems like when against rematches where he won, it doesn't seem like he isn't able to deliver a 2-0 on records and ends up leaving it to be 1-1. Obviously, that's kind of like a separate thing from deciding if Taco should be here. It's just something. It's just interesting, like we don't see many people who rematch multiple players. Obviously, one of them was our fault, but the other one, I think it just ended up being that way. Um, so, a lot of things to keep in mind there. But, despite those two interesting records, we look at his resume. I think it's definitely not the worst thing out there, right? We see, an Arnim win, a Joao win. We have a um, with the run that Brett had, it could be argued that they're a top 25. So, that's a solid win. Aiden Smith, if he continued the season, it could be considered a good win as well. Wins there. He has wins in there where, they're not for sure top 25, but I feel like the fact that they're like on the bubble of that, you still have to consider that. And obviously the losses, despite the two rematch losses, the other two losses are really good. I mean, Luke and Red, I mean, his overall resume is honestly not that bad when you really think about it.
And your
You know,
thoughts briefly on that opening round game against Ridley for him.
yeah. So that does sound like an interesting match. I think both of those players were in UUL before coming to this league, if I'm not mistaken.
So yes,
Yeah, so
definitely Ridley.
I'm sure. I'm gonna assume that this won't be the first time they've played before. At least they haven't played in MRE, but in UUL, I'm sure maybe at some point. But yeah, I mean, very interesting first round here because I think these two players have had similar seasons where they've had some good tournaments and they've had some not so good tournaments. Both kind of questioning whether or not they'd make it to the championship. And, I think both of their consistencies was enough to justify them being here. Both kind of relatively similar consistency as well. I think these are two players who, for having similar seasons, this should be a good match. I think both these players have shown that their play style can work really well against like the players who are just not as experienced as them. So I feel like they have similar play styles, and seeing how they're gonna play is gonna be very interesting. Really excited for it, honestly. I could see either. There's really no way to tell who's gonna win because I think both these players are quite evenly matched here, and you can basically prove that based on how they've done in the season. But yeah, shout outs to Taco for making it to the championship. Those fish picks definitely came in clutch. But no. We looked into it. You definitely deserve this spot for sure.
Yeah, congrats to Taco. We'll face Ridley in that opening round. Should be interesting for sure. 8-9 game, always close. We'll take on My Hell for the winner. And now, we got one spot left. And before we reveal that last spot, the players remaining that we talk about, we have the likes of White Spider, Geo, Ami, Bob Ross, Joao, Bree, Arnhem, Evan, and myself. obviously, you can probably guess who won't be in the championship. But guys, you got, like I said, you guys built this list. And G, you mentioned that this 5 through 10 was very tough. How tough for you was it to decide that final spot in the championship with how close it is down this bottom part of the list? It all comes down to these fine little details. What was the most difficult thing to figure out with this last spot?
I mean, the most difficult thing was who gets it. I think there was 4 different people who were in this spot at one point. I mean, to be honest, it really came down to Bob Ross, White Spider, Gio, and Ami for this last spot. Sorry, Short. 4 wins and a DQ win. Not quite gonna cut it. Also, only one top 25 win, 1-2 record against the playoff field, and an average finish of 25th. So just a little short there, but yeah, I mean, I really came down to there was a lot of things to like about all those different resumes there. I mean, for Bob Ross, I mean, his biggest strength, he had the best strength schedule of the entire playoff field, 6'2", 7". White Spider's biggest strength was really just being in both two regional finals back to back. Having 3 top 25 wins. Gio's biggest strength, of course, the average finish, second best in the league of the 4 tournament players with 8.5. And then for Ami, biggest strength, got 4 top 25 wins, as well with a 3-2 playoff record. So this one really came down to the wire. Again, it's 2 8-win players, 2 7-win players. Joao was the third 7-win player. Unfortunately, his resume fell apart a little bit. 1-3 record against the playoff field, and a not great game record, 36-33. So unfortunately for Joao, it kind of fell apart a little bit for him. But there is one spot left. I'm gonna throw it to you, Short. We're gonna reveal who it is, and then just break it down.
Yeah, wait.
Go ahead.
Can I give my thoughts a little bit?
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So, because what I found interesting when G and I were discussing the top 10 here, I think we had pretty similar lists, but the biggest differences came to like those last 2 spots. Right. It just goes to show like multiple players have a case to make it in, and the players that G mentioned did not make it easy for us to decide. Like I said, I think it came down to like, do you favor the consistency and the average finish that Gio had, or do you favor those quality wins that White Spider and Omni had? Bob Ross with that huge run, like very, getting a lot of good players to play him and even beat it. There's a lot that came into play when discussing this, and this was definitely we spent the longest time picking this number 10. That's just how close it was. I think, I mean, what else is there to say? I mean, we'll see who gets it.
Yeah, all 3 of us here know who got it. You don't know yet, the viewer. And again, the winner here, not the winner, but the person who gets the spot will be facing up against a tournament winner, a tournament champion in Luke, as the 10 seed up against the 7. Winner will get say-in the winner's quarters. So without further ado, your final spot in the Division 2 championship, number 10. Who will it be? You just heard it all discussed, and number 10 goes to Gio. 8-1-4, 44-33, back-to-back regional final runs to start his season. Falling to Nathan and Ridley, both. Again, we'll keep mentioning Nathan is the fact that he technically would be a playoff player had he stuck through the season. Ridley in the championship, just 2 spots ahead of him. Fell to MyHell in the round of 16. Obviously, losing to number 1 can never look bad, and he was also another victim of Tim's run in Justice July, falling in 5 in the round of 16. He also started. He was another to start his like Taco. Started his 2025 with a DQ win. Unfortunately speaking, but so basically had a bye, but. It's going to be England versus Italy in that first round between Luke and Gio. And again, you guys kind of just broke down the strengths for everybody, but G, what was the ultimate thing that what was the sticking point that prevailed for Gio to get him this 10 spot?
Gio does get the 10 spot. I think what this came down to is Gio is one of 2 players who have made every single round of 16. The only other one being Cyan. That's very hard to ignore when the number is that low with a field this big. Gio has immaculate consistency. It's the second best average finish, 8.5. It's very much a big gap from the next best, which is, I believe, Myhale in third with 11. But yeah, I think for Gio, there's definitely some issues with his resume. Like, he has a weak strength of schedule, 5.45, which is tied for second worst with White Spider, ironically. Actually, Gio and White Spider have very similar metrics, both 8-4, although Gio has a DQ win. Game record is pretty identical, although Gio actually has the one extra game win with the DQ. So Gio's 44-33, White Spider's 43-33. If you take out the DQ win, it's actually the exact same. Same strength of schedule. White Spider did have an extra top 25 win, but again, Gio technically had only 2, but with the West one added as well. But White Spider also had the argument of Clint added, but I think for Gio, 0 and 2, technically 3 if you count Nathan against the playoff field, was definitely a something that hurt him a bit. And I mean, you see the wins here. There is only 2 top 25 wins at the moment with Marble and Marcus, and then of course you could argue Wes as well. So that doesn't necessarily help him, but the thing is, everyone has those kind of stumbles in the season. Gio never really had a stumble. He was able to make it to the round 16 at least every single tournament, which is really impressive, even if the strength of schedule is not up there. And it is something you have to consider when it comes to at least the D2 side of things in terms of who makes the field and whatnot. With Gio being 10 also, that means White Spider does miss out. And I think for White Spider, ultimately what it did him in is he lost some pretty critical head-to-heads. He lost to Bob Ross and Ami, which kind of dragged him down a bit. And ironically, you kind of see here also, it's the first one there, Lucas, formerly known as Lucas Leah now. Gio was able to beat them in the head-to-head. White Spider actually lost that head-to-head, so that did hurt them a little bit. So ultimately, I think it came down to some of the head-to-heads that White Spider ended up losing that kind of dragged him out of the field. And for Gio just kind of being able to hang in there despite not having a win against someone in the playoff field, just able to hang on. I think the 10th seed is very fair with that kind of statistic, but again, the average finish, really hard to ignore there, and he will barely sneak into the field in a very competitive field, I might add as well. But I think in most seasons, being able to consistently get get about 2 wins or so per tournament would be something that could get you into the middle of the pack, but I think with how competitive this season is, it puts Gio barely into the field. But what a turnaround for Gio as well. He was in the dumps last season. He didn't get a single win. He had a DQ win, but went 0-1-4, and now goes 8-1-4. Much better season, and is barely going to sneak into the D2 championship here. But we'll have to put in a lot of work here. He's going to have to show that he can contend as well, because again, no wins against any playoff contenders is a bit of a interesting stat to point out. So we'll see how he does in the first round against Luke, who is the only person who has a worse strength of schedule against him. But I think the way this all shapes out is going to be interesting. But that is why Gio ended up getting the 10th spot over some of the other contenders.
Yeah, 10 spot over the contenders, and again, I mean, it really tough spot to be in. I wouldn't want to be you. But yeah, and also you got to think about the fact that, you know, you have a DQ win on a lot of these guys' records, a lot of 8-1-4s. Imagine if the DQ wins just didn't happen and they wins. This could have been a whole different situation. I mean.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, Yoshi, your thoughts on Gio's season and you know, those defining factors that G mentioned to get him that 10 spot over a few others.
Yeah, it was very tough, right? It obviously Gio has something really good, but then also something really bad, and for many people, and we see this with we kind of saw this with like something that maybe in D1 would be pretty would be almost guaranteed, which would almost be like a guarantee that you don't even make it into the field. Like having no um like wins against the playoff field. I mean, besides, you could the arguments of potentially West being top 25, Marcus, and I mean, and that's about it. As far as I can tell.
Marble side.
Or
Marble side
Marble,
was
yeah,
top
yeah,
25.
right. So yeah, my bad. So like Geo has potentially 3 top 25 wins, but none guaranteed, right? And so that definitely like you that then there's the argument like did Geo have a cupcake season? Did he just did he have like just wins against players who just didn't have many wins and then lost to everyone that actually had something to show? Because that's kind of what Geo's resume looks like. I mean, obviously the Tim loss is. I mean, you could argue that's a top 25 loss, but hard to say. Um, Nathan Ridley, Myhale. I mean, all good losses there. I feel like for Geo, it comes down to just his low. Like if we look at obviously the average finish is just ridiculous. His lowest placement was 14th. Cyan's lowest placement was 13th. So like it's just crazy to see how just ridiculous like Cyan and Geo are just way ahead of the pack in terms of consistency and average finish, both kind of going hand in hand there. We can't ignore two fifth places and then 3 top 10 placements. Like I feel like despite an arguably cupcake season, what I think you at some point you have to just give the edge to the player who can consistently get out of the first 2 rounds because then you go into the championship, it could show that like maybe that consistency holds true even against a really good player, right? Like um you're showing at the very least that you can beat the people who are below you, and even if you struggle against the people who are above you, you at least can put up a good fight. And I feel like that's what Gio's gonna have to try and prove against Luke. Um, yeah, I mean, I think just to add a little bit to this, I think when the G and I predict were picking the last spot, the biggest debate was Geo and White Spider, if I'm not mistaken. Bob Ross and Ami were in the conversation, but both had clear issues. Geo and White Spider obviously having being like the two players with just almost identical resumes and whatnot, which ended up making it almost making sense why they should be the two to battle it out for this last spot. And unfortunately, White Spider falls short to just not having as good consistency. Having that, I do want to point out, Geo. There is a common opponent here, which I did want to point out when giving Geo an argument to be ahead of White Spider was Geo has a win on Leah, who was Lucas, and White Spider has a loss. That was his round of 64 loss to Leah. So it's something where if it's so close, that common opponent could be the difference. And I almost think it kind of was in a way. And also those head to heads as well kind of screwed him White Spider over as well. Just unfortunate to see him not make it. But it's kind of the inverse of Pikachu, right? We see Pikachu not making it to the field last year, but making the LCQ into the championship, now making it here. White Spider is going to have to do, if he wants to do the same, going from making it to the championship to then going into the LCQ. He's going to have to try and win that out. Well, he'll be the favorite to win, but I mean the LCQ is going to be fierce. So there's a lot to think about with that one. But Geo gonna be very happy about this. I mean, didn't want to choke on his chances, but he makes it through. his first round is going to be really difficult because Luke is going to be very motivated. Because all Luke cares about is promotion. But we'll see how that goes. I think Gio is going to put up a fight at the very least. We'll see how that goes.
Yeah, we will indeed. Again, 7 versus 10, Luke versus Gio. Winner will get Saiyan Titan. And again, that is your top 10. And there's your bracket one more time. And before we wrap this, obviously, we still have the LCQ to talk about. There's still 8 players that now know they're going to be playing for their lives in the LCQ. That is only single elimination, and obviously, before we hit on the LCQ, it's a bit of a different feel because we had like 20 players in the LCQ last year because our line was two true wins. Now we up it to 5, and we cut it down to 8 players. Still 2 brackets, so it's going to be 3 games in each bracket, 2 semifinals and a final for the right to play in these last 2 spots, 11 and 12 in the championship. But your thoughts on how different the LCQ feel is compared to 2024 to now, obviously upping that win line.
I think now going into the LCQ this season, it's going to feel more like a play-in to get in rather than an additional tournament you have to win. Because the LCQ field last season, Pikachu and Jenna had to win 4 matches to get into the field. This one, you only have to win 2, so gotta split that down in half. But that's not to say it's gonna be easy, because this is gonna be a very, very competitive field. This is a lot of really good players here. This is kind of where we cut off the best from the rest. So it's gonna be quite the action. It's all the stakes, and it's gonna be some good gameplay here to open up the playoffs. But it's 8 people walking in, 2 people walking out. But we'll see how it all shapes out, because technically we have 2 pods of 4 and away, similar to D1. So we'll see who wins each pod and makes it in as the last 2 spots.
Yeah, last 2 spots on the line. As you see your bracket now, there it is. It is bracket A and bracket B, just like last year. So bracket A winner will face J Money, the 6th seed, and bracket B winner will face the 5 seed Pikachu. Now the top in bracket A, the matchups will be White Spider taking on myself, 1v4, and then 2v3 will be Joao and Bree. And then in bracket B, it'll be Bob Ross taking on Evan, 1v4, and then 2v3 will be Ami taking on Arnhem. Now, obviously you have to mention the fact that Arnhem was the other of the 2 losses for our number 1 player in my hell, the other being Red, who hit number 4. So, I'll go to Yoshi first here. Yoshi, your thoughts on this LCQ field, and also and thoughts on these games in the opening round of it, and give me a prediction for who you believe out of these 8 players, the 2 that are going to take the last 2 spots in the championship.
Yeah, I mean, despite the LCQ being only 8 players, I feel like that's what an LCQ needs to be. It needs to be like a quick last chance to get in, right? And I feel like only so many people should be qualified to get in. So I think I like how we have still little matches to cover, but it's still going to be very tough for any of these guys to make it through. I think if we bumped it down to 4 wins, there would have been like 11 in the field, like only 3 more. So I mean, not much of a difference if we brought it down, but regardless, going into the matter at hand here, I think bracket A, where we see Joao and Bree going at it once again after just playing in T4, where Joao, at least in his eyes, had a pretty unlucky match against Bree. So maybe he's going to be hungry for this rematch in a way where hopefully he's hoping to get more opportunities to play in a way that he can use his style and potentially take more games. Obviously, Bree's the favorite to win that, but it's interesting because we see, if Bree does get that win, there is a potential for another rematch in T4 if Short ends up beating White Spider. So Bree, honestly, based on matches that we've seen before, Bree's actually might be the favorite to win, but obviously there is White Spider as well. I don't think he's played anyone in this LCQ, so usually he, and him being the 1 seed in this LCQ, I feel like it's gonna be, for on paper, the battle is gonna be between White Spider and Bree, but it would not surprise me at all to see Short or Joao make it out because, I mean, not Short has experience in the LCQ, and Joao had a finale run, so he could just get hot again. There's so many things to come into play here. If I had to pick someone, it's got to be White Spider. I feel like because you look at the other three, I feel like White Spider is just more like I trust White Spider more to get the wins and not go out early. Because we see with yeah, Joao isn't that inconsistent, but I feel like his play style, the way like he kind of like tells people what his play style is and just kind of rolls with it, which usually does work, but I feel like it's kind of a boom or bust strategy because sometimes it does work and other times you just fall pretty flat. And I feel like you're up against someone who you lost to. You may have to switch up your strategy, which may be difficult for him. And I don't really know how that's going to go. Bree also having round of 64 exits, too inconsistent for me to pick her. Short barely getting in. We don't know how he's going to do. Because if we didn't have a cutoff of minimum 8, he wouldn't even be here. So now that he's here, I don't know what he's going to do. But so I think White Spider, I just have more. I just feel like I have to pick him. But like I said, it's anyone's game here. Because if you lose, you're out. So we'll see how the playoff affects things. But going into the next bracket, Bob Ross and Evan, and then Ami and Arnim. I think I was trying to remember the rematches here. I believe Evan and Ami. If Evan and Ami do win, I believe that would be a rematch. But I think everything else would be new matches for them, for these players. So, yeah. So overall, there's not a rematch heavy bracket. So kind of more difficult to pick someone here. I think Bob Ross again, like we see, he had this one good run and then didn't do much beside that. Kind of like a Myhale from last season. I don't, despite being the top seed, I don't know if he's the favorite to win here. Like he's like kind of like Joao. To me, he's almost like a boomer bust player where his strategy does work sometimes, but he can lose early and it wouldn't, and it's because it's happened before. Evan, wouldn't be surprised to see Evan coming out with the win there, but again, you can't really say too much on that. And I think Ami, Ami definitely an interesting season for him, and now he goes up against Arnim, who beat Myhale. So it's funny because Ami lost to. It doesn't really do great against Myhale, and now he's playing someone who's beaten him. Wonder makes me curious about how that goes. I mean, I think just off of someone that there's not much to really say here. I think if I had to pick someone, because this is kind of like a 25 25 25 25 coin flip, I'm just gonna pick someone that I've always believed in from when I've seen them first compete, and that's Ami. I've always been a believer of him to be a very strong player, even if the record doesn't show it. He's proved it in at least 2 tournaments, and although didn't make the championship, you know, he's still I still think he's a strong player, right? And I think his loss in T4 was just kind of he the timing didn't work out. I feel like he was kind of tired. He wasn't really feeling it that day. But in prime time, I think Ami's gonna be a pretty big threat. So I think whether he gets Evan or Bob Ross, feel like I think he's gonna get it done. And then obviously against Arnhem, I just trust him over Arnhem more. Yeah, there's a lot to think about here, but those are my picks are White Spider and Ami for now. But this LCQ field is ridiculous. I you could pick anyone and I wouldn't even be surprised. Um, yeah. So I don't know if G's gonna make predictions, but yeah, I mean that's what I have.
Keep those picks in mind. We're going to talk full predictions in just a little bit for the entire championship. So keep those in mind for yourself. G, your thoughts on this LCQ field, and give me your 2 picks to win it out of those brackets.
Really competitive. We'll start with A. I mean, White Short. I mean, Short, you snuck into the LCQ here for the second season in a row. This is kind of where you popped up, so I would give you a good shot. But I mean, you do have a pretty tough opponent here with White, who's going to be motivated to get back to the D2 championship here, especially after just missing out this season from an at-large. But Joao Bree is going to be interesting because that matchup happened in the last tournament in just July. Joao was very upset with how that one played out afterwards, so I think they're going to be very motivated to get revenge there. Bree is going to be going into this one feeling decently confident to try to get the 2-0 on Joao. So that's going to be probably a match of the round there because both are fighting for their seasons in a rematch and one that happened in the last tournament. So again, the way the LCQ seeding works is it's based purely on the numbers. So goes by series wins, then game record, and then game wins, then goes from there. White Spider, only 8-win player in this field, gets the 1 seed overall. Bob Ross had the most game wins of the 7-win people with 41, followed by Ami and Joao, 37-36. So that's how that one shapes out. And then and then Breeze only one with 6 wins, Arnhem only one with 5 wins, and then Evan not Short, Evan with 26 game wins, Short with 22. So that's how the seeding worked out with that one. But yeah. I'm looking forward to that matchup in specific. That one could go either way. I know Bree won the first encounter, but Joao's going to be more motivated than ever, especially with his season now on the line. So that's going to be an exciting one to watch out for. White Short should be good as well. I think for the LCQA, this is a boring pick, but I think White Spider's got to be the favorite in this one. Again, he was been a really good player most of the season. He had the hiccup at the start, which unfortunately I think is really what kind of did him in, but again, his strength of schedule is not great, but he does know how to make it deep into these brackets with by any means necessary. So I think with the way this shapes out, he'll be in a spot where he can do that and he gets 2 wins, like he's been able to do for a good chunk of the season after tournament 1. So I think White's in a good spot to be able to get the wins here he needs to slot in as the 11th seed. For bracket B, I mean, again, Yoshi mentioned it's kind of like a 25, 25, 25, 25 coin flip there. All these guys have a pretty good shot of getting in. Bob Ross with that dominant tournament 3, but hasn't really been able to do much in the other tournaments. Evan, again, similar to Short, kind of snuck in, but he's been kind of below the radar, but quietly good. He is one of the few rookies to make it the field as well, in general, because I'm going to mention this as well. Most of this playoff field are people who are returning from last season. The only rookies in this field are Red, Joao, Bree, and Evan and Arnhem. That's it. 9 of the 10 spots in the D2 championship were people who returned, although J Money's a bit of an asterisk because he played in tournament 4 and that was it last season. But yeah, I mean, I guess the experience counts here, so we'll see if that's how it plays out here. Again, Joao Bree is a rookie v rookie matchup, so we'll have a rookie at least guaranteed in the LCQ finals. But yeah, I think for bracket B, I don't know. I think I'm gonna go with Bob Ross. I could see Ami winning as well. I think I agree with Yoshi's pick, but I think for Bob Ross, those are kind of 2 boring picks because those are the 1 seeds for both brackets. But I think Bob Ross, that run in tournament 3 does say something, and he definitely knows what he needs to do when it comes to beating the playoff field. Because right now, in terms of his record against the playoff field, he's 3-1, so that's pretty good. And again, highest strength of schedule, so he does face the tough competition, but then his average finish and his game record kind of did him in terms of not making the D2 championship. But I like Bob Ross's chances. I think Ami is a good shout as well. But again, I think out of anyone in these both these pods could win their respective pod and make it into the field. It's going to be really competitive. It could go anywhere. I'm going to be curious to see what the predictions are for that once we get to it. But yeah, it's going to be a very exciting LCQ. All the stakes on the line for the last two spots, and I'm pretty much looking forward to it.
Yeah, looking forward to it indeed. I of course am not going to make predictions because I'm part of it, but looking forward to proving you both wrong, LCQ. Obviously, I'll make note of the format before we move to our full-scale predictions here. All the LCQ is best of 7-1 power play. The opening round will not be streamed. The bracket finals plan to be streamed. And then in terms of the championship, we plan to stream every game, streamer permitting we can have a streamer present for those games. So looking forward to the championship, and looking forward to documenting it for you all. And now we move to our full-scale predictions. I'm not going to predict just based on the fact that I have my own interests at heart. So, Yoshi, including your LCQ picks, give me a championship winner and who you think the other, because let's not talk about possible retirements in D1 to add spots. Give me the 4 players that will win their way to guaranteed promotion. We have your top 4 are guaranteed. Who are the other 4 going to be, and who's going to be your champion?
Okay. Yeah, a lot to think about there, and obviously we have the top 4 getting a bye into the second round, with everyone else fighting for championships. So, okay. So yeah, White Spider Ami. That means it would be White Spider J Money, and then Ami Pikachu. Okay. Yeah, it's definitely tough, right? I mean, there's a reason why they're all here. Any of these players can do it. Only 8 could be promoted. I feel like, considering that based on my prediction, we see White Spider and Pikachu both being in championship again. For them to be out of the field again, just both of them to be out to not make it again, just doesn't seem likely to me. I think at least one of them is going to be promoted. Let's see. So we're gonna have Pikachu versus Ami. Okay. Yeah, this is. I mean, it's tough, right? Like you really have to think about like how this ends up. I mean, I would say. Um, I would say. Okay. Well, I think J Money is gonna beat White Spider, which I think would. I'm trying to remember. If you win, you just get promoted, or is that no? Hold on.
I forgot if that's correct. G, if you could correct that.
I'm trying to remember how this bracket goes.
Repeat that for
So for the
bracket.
winner, for the people that are playing like in
Opening
the
round.
first round, if you just win one match, are you in? Do you get promoted, or is that wrong?
No, not quite.
Okay.
But
Oh wait,
yeah,
no, I think
it's overall placement, and then the tiebreakers within the round are based off seed.
yeah, it's like you have to finish in the top 8 of the
championship.
championship. Yeah, okay, I got it. So yeah, you just have to make it. Okay, if you end up in the losers of round 1, you have to win that. So that could mean you. So yeah, if you win winners round 1, you still have to play. Yeah, I got it. Okay, so no, I get it. So everyone is okay. So then, technically, everyone. So yeah, I mean, if the top 4 seeds do go there,
they're still, based on their seeding, they'll still probably make it. But yeah, anyways. Okay, so yeah, so if J Money wins, then he'd have to play more. Yeah, you know what? Okay, I'm gonna say J Money gets promoted. I feel like White Spider is a White Spider into Mark isn't the easiest, but I feel like just the way that he plays, I feel like he's gonna find a way. Like we saw J Money beat Pikachu in T4, wait, no, that's wrong. Nope, that's wrong.
Pikachu beat J Money.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that was a close game still. Yeah. Okay. So White Spider's a tough one for J Money, but I just feel like I feel like, we see him find a way against some of these top players. I feel like he's gonna, especially in this scenario where he's in the playoffs. I think he's gonna find a way. And then against Mark, I feel like that's honestly a good match for J Money because I feel like against players like against relatively unique players, he usually does pretty well. I feel like J Money's gonna find a way there, and then looking at the rest, definitely difficult to me. Like the way I look at these players, Luke has a ridiculous amount of motivation to be promoted that it would just surprise me if he didn't. I mean, he's up against Geo, which is out of the players he could have got. I think this is one of the better picks because Geo, Geo with no quality wins that gives Luke kind of some confidence that he could probably get it done against Geo because he has yet to beat someone of his caliber. I feel like that's gonna help him, and then he's gonna play Cyan, which that would be a crazy game if that happens. I would like that would be a tough match for Luke, but I feel like in a playoff mode, I, I feel like Luke is gonna figure it out. Um, whether against Cyan or against uh whoever ends up in his losers round one, I don't know. Um I feel like Luke's gonna get. Oh, I remember now. So yeah. I remember how it works. So yeah, but anyway, Luke I think is gonna get through. So J Money Luke, that leaves two more. It's funny. Like I have we saw in last year where someone in the LCQ who made it out of the LCQ and one of them got promoted. I'm gonna predict that that's gonna happen again. But I'm gonna make a kind of a crazy pick here. I'm gonna say that Ami's gonna figure something out and make his way into the promotion. I know like this is definitely kind of more of an out there thing to say because he's for someone who hasn't even we don't even know if he's gonna make it out of the LCQ. It's still something where you have to consider like uh I feel like Ami's one of those players who, if he at the in his prime time, I think he's a huge threat. Um, and we've seen it before. Like he's made a Final Four in the Elite Eight. Like you really have to take those things to consideration. He's gonna play Pikachu, which won't be easy, but I feel like if he finds the if he kind of if he kind of understands the counterplay to Pikachu, I feel like he's gonna get that win, and then that would put him against Red. And like I could like if Red gets frustrated enough, I could see Ami winning that as well. Like there's a lot of
A
things to
lot
think
goes
about with
into
that.
it.
Yeah, I know. Like these are all projections, right? Like because you could lose your first round winners, but you could still make it. You could still make it if you then win that match, right? So it's a lot to unpack, like with the possibilities. So then, yeah, I think Ami's just gonna sneak in. Maybe people won't expect that, but I think you gotta expect the unexpected in this championship. And then we go into the last spot.
I would say that it's probably what I think here. Um, okay, I said that one of Pikachu or White Spider is gonna make it because of the fact that they both made it through. Okay, so I guess off of that logic, I think what I'm gonna say here, I'm gonna say Pikachu is gonna be the last one. Um, I wait. Yeah, okay. Well, that's funny. So whoever loses between Pikachu and Ami, I think they're gonna still win the match. They're still gonna make it through whoever they play in the losers. So yeah, weird things are gonna happen here, but I think Pikachu's gonna get it done. Whether he beats Ami or loses to him, he's gonna probably win the next one. Um, I think his style is just for some players, it's just too much to handle, and even for some of these players in this field, right? I feel like he's definitely almost like a ghost archetype where he plays pretty fast and doesn't really slow down at all. Maybe except in like one or two cases where it's like where it's a player when his opponent's down to like check and he has to think about what to do. Beside that, he usually plays really fast. So I think that's a style where he's going to, especially as a 5 seed. I think that's going to help him a lot. I think he's going to make it in. Um, so then that would be the 5 seed, the 6 seed, the 7 seed, and then the LCQ, one of the LCQ players. So definitely an interesting set of picks. I mean, again, it's hard, but I think the tournament winners are favorites to me because they've had a shining moment, and we saw with Steven, like you don't like you can go out early in a tournament and you could still be a champion.
Absolutely.
So there's a lot to think about with that, and I guess that leads me to picking a championship winner. I mean, I don't even know what to do with this. Like, there's just all these players, man. They could win. I don't know who. Uh, and I just have to pick one. I, you know, I think out of the people who I'd say are most motivated to win the championship, I mean, My is just likes to play Uno, so he's gonna go 100% every time. Cyan, I think he just wants more accolades. Uh, I mean, Luke maybe, but I think he just mainly cares about promotion. And J Money, the job's never finished. It's tough, man. Uh, I'm gonna say, I mean, let's see. I think I'm gonna make a prediction that one of whoever wins this championship is going to come from losing their first match. So, which is kind of crazy, but I think they're gonna go out, lose early, be in that losers round one, then still make it in, then still make it through, and then be able to get out of that, and then win all the way into into getting 2 wins on the player from the grand finals. Who that's gonna be? I mean, I I guess. Um. Okay, so here's my hypothetical with this. What I'm gonna say is that Ami is gonna beat Pikachu, which will put Pikachu down early. But I think Pikachu is gonna, I've seen Pikachu make ridiculous runs before, not just in this league, but also in myths. And I have a feeling that if Pikachu goes down early, he's going to just start tearing through players. I'm just gonna. It's definitely an out there pick, but you just don't know who's gonna win this championship. There's just so many possibilities. I'm just gonna say I'm gonna guess Pikachu because he had made the championship before. It didn't go well this time. I think he's gonna learn from that, and also just get the cards that he needs to really use his strategy to where he becomes unstoppable. I think in this league you got to have a little bit of luck, and I feel like Pikachu, he's had some unlucky tournaments. I think this is going to be the tournament where he just gets everything he needs, and he gets what he needs to use his style in a way that is very strong and very difficult to beat. I think Pikachu's going to do something crazy. Go from potentially losing his chances of being promoted to then going all the way to winning the whole thing. It's crazy to say that, but like I said, the amount of possibilities with a double elimination bracket is just you just have to go with something, and that's what I'm gonna go with. But yeah, I could see anyone winning here.
Yeah, that's fair. Obviously, Steven, our 24 champion, went up against the top seed in background in the winners finals, and then fought his way through a losers game against Alex in a best of 9 to go back up to the grand finals to play background again and beat him twice. So it's not outlandish to say now from winners round 1 that is crazy to me, because you have to win more games to get to the grand final. So that's a definitely interesting one, but I can't put it past Pikachu. So I respect the game and prediction. Give me your. I mean, again, top 4. We kind of believe. Obviously top 4 isn't 100%, but they're pretty close to it. So just give me. You include the top 4. Give me your 4 that will get promoted in addition, and a championship winner. Oh
boy.
Oh boy.
Oh.
It's fine. I can cut this out.
All right.
G, just let me know when you're good.
Dang.
See if we can hear him. Yeah, I did see.
G?
Oh.
Good?
Yeah, I hear you.
Hold on.
All right.
Let me know. I'll restart the question again.
No, like my laptop, Discord on laptop just completely froze.
Tragedy.
So,
Tragedy.
I was talking too much, I guess.
I do think we need to cut some parts there because that was like 10 minutes.
Maybe I should have had you come up with that before the show.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it was different. Yeah, I don't know.
You're right that there's so many possibilities to it. That's the thing. I can't.
I just think on the spot there, being like, okay, so if this player wins, then this player plays this player, and it's like, dude,
there's just so many.
There's a lot to think about.
Oh my goodness.
But yeah, if there's any more talking points I'll make sure not to go ramble on that much.
Yeah, you're fine. But I think we might actually. It's weird. We might actually be shorter this time last year.
It will be.
Could be the difference
between. We're longer. We're longer.
We're longer.
Okay.
Oh god. We need a better way to do
there might be some cut downs, but are you good now?
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay, I'm gonna restart. All right, so G, we top 4 pretty close to being guaranteed, not 100% as we just mentioned, but give me your other 4 that will guarantee promotion, and give me a championship pick.
Again, I mentioned my predictions for the LCQ White Bob Ross. I think for promotion, I think you gotta go with Pikachu. He's been looking good in the last few tournaments. I think he'll get some revenge from the last time around and get a deep run going. I'd say Pikachu's a good pick. Another one I'll go with, he's been wanting it, and I think he'll find a way through. Despite some setbacks in the season, I think Luke will find his way in one of those promotion spots. he has a good record against the playoff field. So I think when it comes to some of the better players, he'll be able to make sure he's locked in and loaded for that. I'm gonna give a shout to Ridley also. I think Ridley makes it as well. As one of the people who gets one of those promotion spots. They've been looking pretty good, pretty consistent. I mean, they'll probably try to shake off that Jordy loss as soon as they can now that they're in the field. But I think I like Ridley's chances, and that last one's tough. I'm gonna go a similar route as Yoshi though. Pick someone from the LCQ. I think White. I picked White to win LCQA. I think White finds his way into the promotion spot here and gets some justice from last season. So I would say White. Those are my 4 guaranteed additional promotion slots. Again, you have the top 4 seeds that get promotion spots, and then it's the best 4 finishers from 5 through 12. So I would say those 4 get it. And then for my tournament winner, I mean, it's tough. Part of me wants to say MyHale, but winning 3 straight tournaments is unprecedented. That's never happened in the league, and this is to the point where we have the best of the best players. But there's a lot of stats that support MyHale's case to win this thing, because I mean, he's 7-2 record against the playoff, which is blows everyone else out of the water. 2 tournament wins, the most momentum coming into this one. So. It's really tough to root against MyHale, but 3 tournament wins in a row, it has never happened. I'm not sure if it's going to happen again, although it is double elimination, so that could open the door for it. But yeah, I think when it comes down to it, I'm going to go with yeah, man, this is the boring pick. I'm going to go for the 3-peat. I think Miles going to make history, win this one. I'm sorry, it's just the stats really do not line up for anything else, because MyHale has so many things in his favor here. The only thing that's not in his favor is just the just history, because no one's ever won 3 straight tournaments. But MyHale has all the momentum in the world. Got the number 1 seed. The number 1 seed was the one who won winners bracket last season, although that was a bit of a weird run. So the 1 seed has precedent of winning the winners bracket. Didn't win the whole thing, but won the winners bracket. So I think MyHale's in a really good spot. I think he's going to be the pick. If I had to go with someone else, I'd take a look at maybe someone like a Mark. I think Mark could be maybe going under the radar for being someone who could win the DC championship. I'd give him a shout. But yeah, Cyan, of course, you got to consider as well. He's going to be motivated to try and get that tournament win, of course, with the DC championship. But yeah, I mean, I think any of the people in the field can win. I even can be one of the LCQ players, like someone like a Joao or Ami could find a way to run it through and get the win from the LCQ, which would be pretty crazy. But that my pick, I'm gonna lock in is MyHale, which is the boring pick, but I think the stats line up with that pick. But I think it's anyone's game to win for this one.
Yeah, anyone really is game. So Pikachu for Yoshi, MyHale for G. So it'll be fun. Like
not
I
short
said,
for not short.
Yeah. My 4 promotion picks are not short, not short, not short, and not short. And my championship pick is not short. Anyway, so again, like I said, the LCQ bracket finals will be streamed. The opening games will be non-stream. We plan to stream every game in the championship, again, permitting that it fits into a streamer's schedule. So that will be the plan. So make sure you stay tuned for that. Lots of games to be played. Lots of stakes. Looking forward to it. For both of you, I'll go again to Yoshi. Yoshi, just some brief closing comments as we move forward into this championship. Lots of excitement around it.
Yeah, like I said, the possibilities are just too many. With how not just how the LCQ. Well, I guess at the LCQ there aren't that many, but with those LCQ winners, how they play into the championship, again, it's just so much that can happen. We could see both of them. We could see both of them making ridiculous runs. You know, there's so much to think about, and I think, like I said, this season showed that we have this field of really good top players. Where even for those in the LCQ, like they've proved that that they got some good wins and they can hang with the at the top. And even for players like Evan and Short, I feel like they've had their shining moments where they could make a Cinderella run happen. There's so much. I think everyone who's competing here is going to be putting up a fight at the absolute worst, and so much. There's so many more games that are left to be played, and I almost just want to sit back and watch how it all ends up, because I mean, what else is there really to say? It's just everyone left is really good. So, looking forward to the LCQ and the championship. We have 18 players in total left to play in these playoffs. So, yeah, I mean, shout out to everyone who's competing. Wish you all the best of luck, and may the best player win the championship, and may the best 8 get promoted as well.
Absolutely. G, your final thoughts.
Very exciting time of the season. Really getting down to the best competition. We saw a great D2 championship last year. I'm expecting another good one this year. Hopefully we keep the trend of no sweeps in the D2 championship. We didn't have a single sweep in it last season, and that was a lot of games. So hopefully we keep that as well. It is the best of the best here, and I'm very much looking forward to this time. And best of luck to all the competitors here as we get rolling with the playoffs.
Playoff season's here. Championship season is here. The championship field is revealed. Really quickly, let me just pull this up so I have this correct for those watching. Just gonna get the calendar here. So yeah, today, if you're watching this on the day it premiered, August 15th, we will start scheduling for the LCQ starting tomorrow, the 16th, and then the opening day of the LCQ. Round 1 will be the 18th through at least the 21st, and then we'll have the finals after that. We expect the first day of the D2 Championship Winners Round 1 will be August 30th, but obviously with how the scheduling might go, it might move those windows up, but it'll be the 30th through September 2nd. We'll be off and going when we estimate the grand finals to be around September 29th, 30th. Again, those windows will shift up. We will update as we go along. But it's exciting. The championship is here. We thank you so much for joining us for today's show. For my fellow commission members, Yoshi and G-Man, I have been Not Short. We will see you in the championship. We'll see you in the LCQ first off. And we hope you have a great rest of your Friday for those watching us premiere live. And championship is here. It'll get started very soon in the next few days. Take care, everyone.